Hi guys, I'm Danny, and I started a Sunday gym because I've noticed lately that people tend to go to colleges and universities without actually knowing why they're there. And afterwards, starting jobs that are unfulfilling. So I'm interviewing different professionals to see what they have to say and share their knowledge and experience with you. I hope you enjoy it.
Wild.
It's recording now. Right on, Piotr. Welcome, man. How you doing?
Great, I'm doing great, and you?
Rather well, thank you. The program gonna be focused on three main questions. What do you do for a living? How'd you get there? And how did you knew that this was the way to go? So tell us what you do for a living, please.
Okay, so let's start from the first question. What I'm doing for a living? Well, I'm an accountant. Maybe this is not something that, makes people, I don't know, thrilling or thinking that this might be interesting. But yeah,
For
it it
some
it
reason,
appearing.
they think that we're not as interesting as Indiana Jones. I don't know.
Or maybe rather, I would say that I'm a finance person because it is like I have started as accountant receivables, and later on I have moved to another company where I am currently in, and I'm doing the record to report accountancy. So yeah, let's say that it is a finance profession that actually since the very beginning, it was like probably 6 or 7 years ago. I can see that it has transformed a lot. There
Yeah.
is not so much manual work like it used to be. So it really has changed.
Uh, I think I told that story here or elsewhere. I don't remember. Uh,
Mm.
for about 2 years, I worked at a company called HPE, Hewlett Packard Enterprise. And when I started, I did like a document about the work process, how it should be done when you log into SAP and when you log into different payments tools that were mostly online and so on and so forth. And I just made that document, that procedure, and left it as it is. And when it was time for me to leave the company, I stayed there for about 2 years, and I found myself a replacement on LinkedIn, and I was training her. And my supervisor back then, he said, you should make a procedure about, the whole process, how it works. Said, I made one already. So really, when? Well, when I got here. Okay, listen, I want you to give her the procedure. She can start working on it. I just want to sit there and watch. I was like, what's wrong with you? Who talks like that? All right. When she opened the procedure, keep in mind, it was about 2 years of period from when the procedure was made until it was time for her to work by using that procedure. Almost nothing was the same. Like
Yeah,
basically only the SAP logo was the same, and she was like, "How? Where's that?" I'm like, okay, so that one is changed, and that one is everything was changed. Now it didn't happen overnight. It basically there were small changes on a monthly basis, I guess. But when you take that for about 24 months, and it's a very dynamic profession, it changes rather quickly.
and this is because I believe the changes in the technology
Yeah.
and the whole approach how we are doing the things. Yeah, you have mentioned SAP. So from the SAP standpoint, I believe it is also like quite visible how the approach of doing some things is changing. At this moment, I'm not working on SAP. However, I used to. We are using different kind of ERP system. More that is looking like a Excel. Actually, it is quite funny still, but it is still quite useful, I would say. And even like I'm working in my current company, it is like fourth year already. So even the type of activities that we are doing, they are different. So even the
Yeah.
accountancy, like we supposed to think on the accountancy, like recording from the financial perspective that what company is doing, it is not anymore like that. It is more like there is the analysis factor more, I would say, included in the daily basis. So it is not only the recording, but trying to understand later on okay, what is happening in the company and how the company could be working in a better way. That's the main purpose of the accountancy at the moment, and it will be even more developed in the future, I believe.
Pretty solid, and I agree 100%. Now the next question is, how did you get there? So when you were a kid, were you walking on a street one day and you were like, "Let me be an accountant" at some point, or
You know, yeah, I was thinking about it like
because that's how I became an
already
accountant,
several
to be
times.
honest.
No. It was not like that. You know, it is like when you're looking at someone's CV and you may thinking, okay, the guy has studied that and this, and later on he went to the first company and he started from the accounts receivables. Later on, he moved to another one. So actually, when you're looking at my CV, you may get the impression that okay, the guy has really planned his life because I have started, yeah, my first high school. I mean, yeah, the high school was the professionalized one, so it was not only the general high school that is preparing you for the bachelor's, right? So the final exam that is coming after the high school, but it was also including it has the professional factors. So we had there the lessons about the accountancy, about statistics, about econometrics. So for me, it was much easier later on to join the university and study economics because I already has like covered probably first two semesters for the professional subjects. So later on, it was like a kind of natural thing for me to go and study economics or something that is connected with the business. And that was the first job later on. So also from the in the financial domain, let's say. But it was not like that. You know, the reason why I have, for example, choose the high school was because it was very well connected to the place where I was living. And it just appeared that it was a business high school. So it was not because I really wanted to study something that is connected with the businesses, accountings, and numbers, and so on. No, it was very purely very practical. Okay, there is a bus station. So directly from the high school, I could just enter the bus and go home. So that was the reason why I have decided to take the business high school. And later on, the reason why I have decided to study economics and the business related things, and later on the accountancy, it was exactly because I have finished the business high school. So it was much easier to just continue the path, right? Because yeah, the guys who I don't know, they were studying in the normal high school without any professional subjects. For them, like they had to learn the statistics, mathematics, and the professional subjects. And for me, it was just okay. The professional subject I had kind of covered, so I had to focus only on the general ones. So yeah, the way how I have like choose my path, it was more because it was
It was a
just more
practical thing to
convenient.
do.
It was the practical, yeah, purely.
Makes a lot of sense. And I'd like to hear your inputs on the third question. Now, the third question is, how did you knew that this was the way to go? Now, all right, I understand that the whole logistics thing, all right, was close
Sure,
to your home and so on and so forth. But see, the thing is, and I'm sure you've noticed that too. Once basically people go to those colleges and universities and they just start something. A lot of times it ain't even for them. And they just start a job somewhere related to what they studied. Again, not for them. And I'm not insulting people when I'm saying it's not for them. All right. I don't have any malice or spite or any of this. I'm just highlighting a problem. And it is a social problem, by the way. from my point of view. That's why I'm doing the whole podcasting. Otherwise, I wouldn't. But you know, and from what I'm seeing, the examples that I've gathered, people that I've talked to, if you're doing something that is simply not for you, you're going to end up as a miserable person. Now, I'm not, let's say it's okay to be miserable when you're alone, but later in life, once you have a spouse and children, you're going to be miserable at work, you're going to be miserable at home because that's just how we are designed. And then it's an absolute shitstorm. So, you know, how did you knew that this was the way to go? Because once you finish the business school and everything, logistics aside, which is fine, I guess. Of course, I love stuff that's near to me as well. That's why I live downtown. But you know, you could have chosen any number of things, yet you decided to keep on. So how did you knew that this was the way to go?
Okay, at the very beginning in high school, of course, I didn't know. Because for me, it was just a, you know,
I
just a
mean,
thing to
first year
do,
in high
right?
school,
The
I don't
school.
think anybody knows. Like,
Sure.
especially maybe because, you know, girls mature faster. So maybe there are girls that are aware of it. I have never, in all my born days, I have never seen a 15-year-old boy that knows what he wants. We just have different priorities at that time. Like for me, when I was 15, I had a girlfriend and I thought that I basically cracked the philosopher's stone. Like I've achieved it all. So yeah, first year in high school is not a good example. I agree with you on that one.
And you know what? The really key point about the education system, I believe, and this is probably all over the Europe at least, is that people need to decide their first path when they are about, I don't know, 15, 16 years old, right? Because then you need to decide, okay, which major you want to study on, what university, if the university is your thing that you want to do. So they need to decide. We all had to decide what to do at some certain point of our lives, and we were pretty young. So it is quite normal to make mistakes then, right? I have to tell that I was lucky in that high school because it was about, I don't know, fourth year, I believe. I met one professor in that high school. He was actually teaching us the accountancy, the really basics of the accountancy. And that was a guy with a mission, I have to tell. Because yeah, teachers sometimes, you know, they are all doing their jobs, but some of them, they are just meant to be at teachers.
Yeah.
And that was the guy. Later on, I just heard that he resigned and he started his own winery. So now he's producing wine.
I hope it's as
But
good as the stitching
yeah.
though.
I don't know. I really don't know why he decided to leave that school.
I mean, when
But
you
really,
deal
he
with
was
so many children on a daily basis, at
most
some point you're
probably,
gonna have.
maybe. Maybe, yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say. He really tried to add something more into his classes. And I remember, like when he really tried to explain the basics of the accountancy, he really also later on tried to explain not only the basics of the accountancy, but you know the whole basics of the economics, stock exchange, capital markets, financial analysis, all those things. So he was really the person that showed us, you know, how to connect these dots, right? So I believe he is the one that is guilty the fact that today I'm an accountant because he really get to me into me that to all those economics business related topics, and I believe he is the one that is guilty the fact that I decided to pursue that path later on when I joined the university. Yeah, it is because of him probably. And later on, well, you need to be consistent in that what you are doing. I believe, even if there is something that you don't understand, even if you are finding, you know, some hardships during the studies or later on during the job, when you're already hired and you need to Yeah, you're supposed to do the things. You need to be persistent and just try as much as possible. Nobody was born, genius. I know that people may think that okay, he's a gifted because he understands the things. It is not like that.
Yeah, and it's not rocket science. And the reason I love accountant and finance in general, because from my father's side, everybody were mechanics or engineers, and from my mother's side, everyone was doctor. And I never wanted any of those, although those are pretty prestigious professions and so on and so forth. Reason I love finance and accounting so much is because no matter how much you screw up, like you shouldn't screw up, all right, but if you do, it's very fixable. Like the biggest problems you can cause are fixable within a week. It's like pretty good safety net, if you ask me.
Well, we are not saving lives. This is what I heard
Yeah.
also, from the managers and from the other professionals. We are not saving lives here. However, sometimes when we really do something really not correctly, we may cause a heart attack. So it is not good to make mistakes.
Hey, that's
Let's say.
right. You
Uh,
mentioned the accounts receivable and accounts payable in the beginning. And crazy thing is, I started in accounts payable, then I moved to accounts receivable, and now I'm at the AP again. But about first week, I moved to the AP because, when the AR, when you view the ledger, it all has minuses, right? Because those are the amounts that you received, and they are minuses from the customer side. And we had a customer that wanted to make my job easier, so he put it all as minuses. But in his head, he needed to make my job easy. I still had this AR reflex, and I issued a credit note, and we were supposed to pay him about, I think, 26 or 36,000. And I issued a credit note for that amount of money. And when he received it, he was like, "But what's wrong with you people? You're supposed to pay me. I think it was 26, but I'm not sure. You're supposed to pay me 26,000. You issue a credit note for that amount of money." And but my supervisor, she was like really cool with that. Like, okay, you should just delete that credit note immediately, pay the man, and never do that again. I was like, all right. So yeah, we can cause a heart attack, but that aside, I mean, it's fixable.
definitely. Yeah.
And with that said, Piotr, if you have one advice to give the
Yes.
audience, what will it be?
Just have fun during the process. Because again, it is quite possible that you may not know what you want to do. Just stay open for any kind of opportunities that may just arise. Do not get distracted. Do not get stressed if you really don't know sometimes which path to decide. We need to all remember that, okay, if today, let's say I'm 38 years old, I'm quite prepared to the fact that in next 20, 30 years, I may change my profession. I may change, for sure, I will change like few companies during that life. So be open for a change.
That's pretty good advice. The world we live in I don't think the world has ever been that dynamic, you know? Because the previous generation, and I'm not, saying it's wrong, I'm just highlighting, because, back then people like work like their whole life at the same place. That's next to impossible these days. Even if you
Yeah.
work at some place, I mean, like a bigger company is coming in town and buying the company you work at. So, a lot of things are out of your control. And the world has never been so as dynamic as it is today, I think.
Oh yeah, it is just enough to compare, like for example, like you say, the previous generations. So the generations of our parents. So let's take an example of my dad. He spent wait, in first company he spent probably 20 years. So 20 years in the one
Yeah.
company. right? And later on, of course, there was the transformation in Poland. So, the socialism gone and the capitalism entered and so on. But even then, I think he worked in 3 or 4 companies during his own professional life. Now he's retired. So if we compare that to us, I believe the first 4 or 5 companies we are covering during, I don't know, probably first 10 years of the professional
Yeah,
life.
I was about to say that.
So there is no comparison between these two.
Yeah.
And even, just to say, because I said that my profession has changed even during the time when I'm like working in my current place. So I believe it would be also enough to say that, for example, when I have studied, no one knew about Power BI, about Power
Yeah.
applications. No one taught us about SQLs, about M language or any other languages, the programming languages that are used by the accountants. So it is also good to show to the people, I believe, that, okay, there will be a huge change in the technology. Like now we have the AI or the generative AI even. It is appearing in our job as well. So again, being open for a change. So if you are deciding to, like, I don't know, to take our path, right? So to become an accountant, just have in mind that that profession, maybe the general, like the basis of it, will be exactly the same like it was, because my grandmother was an accountant. So sometimes when my father was mentioning, okay, are you staying longer, Piotr, during the month end? Yeah, of course I do. So he started laughing. Okay, so you can imagine that my mom was actually doing the same. I remember when I was a kid, she had to stay during the month end until, I don't know, extensive work life. So she had to stay, I don't know, until midnight, 1 o'clock a.m., 2 o'clock a.m., or something like that, 1 o'clock, yeah. So nothing has changed in that. However, the way how we are doing the things is completely different. And it might be the
Yeah.
same for those who will come after us. I believe it will be completely different. So just stay open for that, what future may bring.
And to be honest, today's accountants, I mean, those that are like us, are like a hybrid between an accountant and an IT, you know?
Yeah, yes. It is
Now
even
with a
mentioned,
lot of
in
applications and a lot of programs you're gonna use, you also have to learn how to fix them when something's wrong and something's messed up.
Yeah, so there is a lot of data analysis, a lot of IT, as you said. So it is not only purely financial side of that job. It is not anymore like that, and it will merge. I mean, not merge, but the factor of the IT will be growing and growing
Yeah.
during the years. So it may appear that if we finish our professional lives in that business, in the accountancy, most probably the last year will be like the full, I don't know. I even cannot imagine how the accountancy will be
Yeah, I
looking
try not
like
to
in 20
imagine that
years.
too.
It is not imaginable. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it serves no purpose.
No. Like, can you imagine 2 years ago? So the 2 years ago, the first AI model, I believe, was this like designed, the Chat GPT, the famous
Yeah.
one, or even not 2 years ago. So just imagine that in the next 2 years, what might be available
Well,
on the market.
I love giving this as an example. You remember late 90s, early 2000s, those were those internet cafes, right? When there are
Yeah,
no computers and you go over there with your friends. And I used to spend a lot of time there. And my mother used to nag about it. And she was like, what do you think? Because I was running away from school and I was going to this computer club. And she was like, what will you do when you grow up? nobody's gonna pay you to sit in front of a computer. So now I'm bringing that up every single time when I got the opportunity because it's payback time. And like you remember back then when you said that, and well, hi, and she just. But yeah, things are very different, very dynamic. My father, I remember he was telling me about his father. So my grandfather, I never met him, but my grandfather told my father once, you should learn how to fix a TV because everybody had on a TV, right? Back then, that was the advice he gave him. And there's a TV in every home, and when you know how to fix them, you always have a job. Now, I'm 33 years old, and I have personally never seen in my life anyone fixing a TV. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, you throw it out, you get a new one. I guess that's why we don't have good marriages these days, because that mentality.
Yeah, if something is not working, we are getting the
Yeah.
new one, right? So yeah, yeah, this is how the technology has changed the life. So it will go even further, I believe.
It sure will. And with that said, Piotr, thanks for being with me, man. I really appreciate you being here, sharing that example.
Thank you for inviting me as well. It was a pleasure.
Pleasure all mine. Bye. Guys, I hope this one was useful. Please follow the channel on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Gap, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Ring the bell and all the good stuff. Have a nice week ahead, and I'll see you next Sunday.